Welcome to Pursuit of Perfect System. Back in May, I made what at the time seemed like a really big decision and quite a big gamble. I sold my £1,000 32-inch LG computer monitor and replaced it with a £900 55-inch Panasonic OLED television to be used as my main daily computer monitor. Since I started Pursuit of Perfect System, I automatically became a video creator, and creating and making very high quality videos that look nice, that have a really nice visual impact, I have found to be really very hard. There are lots of tools and ways and means to understand what you are doing, and you don't need to be able to see what you are doing if you can read all these tools and measurements and graphs. And I wish I understood them to the same level that I understand the graphs within something like Dirac Live. In situations like that, knowledge is power. But I think despite those graphs being really important for color grading and setting lots of things correct, with video creation and artwork to really any level, a lot of it will come down to what you actually see and what you actually see on the screen. And in that situation, having a really high quality display stands to reason that it's going to help make that process much easier and the damn sight more enjoyable. And personally, I think it doesn't get any better than having an OLED based display for creating content in standard dynamic range, and probably in high dynamic range as well. And that is where I think, very interestingly, the PC industry is very much behind the television display industry. And normally the PC industry is a leading force in most technologies, but with displays, they are years, maybe even decades behind. And that is because the vast majority of computer-based monitors are LED and LCD based displays. The £1,000 32-inch LG display that I had up until recently, that was also an LED and LCD based display, an edge-lit based one. You can buy a professional grade Asus OLED display, which is 21.5 inches and costs £4,299. Or maybe you can go over to Apple and buy one of their Pro Display XDR monitors, which will cost you between £4,500 and about £5,500. Or you could choose a number of different professional grade PC monitors that exist up to about 32 inches in size, and then you get those really ultra wide, crazy wide displays, which are very cool, and they'll cost you maybe anything between £1,000 and £2,000 for a professional high quality one. And yet none of those displays, I don't think anyway, offer you the same technology or the same display quality as a pretty standard OLED television that you can buy much bigger for considerably less. I've been waiting for the computer industry to release an OLED based or an OLED like PC monitor that has OLED like image quality, and I've waited for years, and there's still absolutely nothing on the market and nothing within reasonable price territory. So at this point I was thinking, there's this possibility to do this, but to use an OLED television as a computer monitor, it's a pretty big gamble. So I thought, well, I need to reduce the risk of this gamble by as much as possible. So I started looking around to try and find the most affordable OLED television that was still good, that was still modern, that still had a very high specification. And it just so happened on eBay, I came across a Panasonic GZ950 that was being sold as a Panasonic refurbished unit for £900. So when you think about that, a 55-inch 2019 OLED for £900, that has fantastic black levels, amazing contrast, pretty much an up-to-date spec even in 2020. Loads of things like Dolby Vision support and all sorts of all these amazing technologies and features, and OLED display technology with all the benefits that comes with OLED for £900, which just happens to be about £4,000 less than the 32-inch display from Apple and about £3,000 less than the 21.5-inch OLED display from Asus. And it's bigger, much bigger, and bigger is always better. Well, yeah, bigger is always better. And the reason I say that is because since I've had the Panasonic 55-inch OLED display, or TV really, as my computer monitor, I've realized something about how I use a computer. What I do find is when I'm using a laptop with maybe a 16-inch or a 17-inch screen, I often make the windows that I'm working in or things that I'm using full screen, because you have to be able to see them clearly. But when you are using a huge monitor like a 55-inch, you can have lots of different things on the screen that are technically smaller, but visually they are bigger. Technically it doesn't, but it feels like it gives you much more screen real estate to work with. And that becomes of particular benefit when it comes to video editing, because with video editing, you always have a lot of things on the screen. Not only is it big, you have all the OLED benefits of color accuracy and fantastic black levels. And I must admit, the Panasonic range of OLED televisions were the ones that I was looking for anyway, because of their naturally very high quality, out of the box color accuracy. And I think when you factor in all of those use cases, for me, a 55-inch OLED television is miles and miles and miles and leap years ahead of any PC monitor that I can think of that's sold across the whole world today. But what about the potential negatives of using the OLED television? Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking of these already, such as, big screen size. You need to be sitting a certain distance away, things like eye strain from, looking at a very large display. And probably most of you are worried and thinking about, the dreaded, cursed OLED screen burn and image retention problems. And I was thinking about all of these problems myself, even to the point where a couple of days before I put the order in, I was trying to put myself about this distance away, about 3.5 feet away from the other TVs that we have at home, to try and get a feel for what it would be like being sat that close to a monitor of that size. But then I thought long and hard about the possible and probable chance of getting image retention and some screen burn on the Panasonic OLED display. And you know what I thought about it, and I thought, you know what, I'm fine with it. And the reason I'm fine with it is because this is a work tool. And in a similar vein, if a builder buys a drill and then worries about that drill getting dusty in use, that's just crazy. But even after making all those decisions, I still had my doubts. And naturally, what do we do as consumers? We go looking for information, we go looking for reviews, and we go looking for user feedback on anywhere we can find it, but mostly we find user feedback on forums. All I could find was forum after forum after forum of someone asking the question, and then a number of people shooting the idea down in flames because of all the potential issues that I've just discussed with you. So I thought about it some more, and I thought, you know what, sod it, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And since the last 3 months of using the Panasonic GZ950 in 55-inch as a computer monitor for daily work, for daily computer work and a lot of video creation work, it's one of the best things that I have done. And that is the reason why I wanted to make this video, because I felt like there needed to be some positivity out there, that this message needed to be out there in case someone is considering doing this themselves, because it can work and it can be damn right bloody awesome. But it's definitely not something suitable for everybody. I'm happy to report that after 3+ months of a lot of use, I haven't seen a single bit of image retention, not one so far. I'm fully aware that it still may be too early days and it still may be coming. I have watched quite a bit of really very high quality Netflix content on the Panasonic GZ950 OLED, and watching something like Project Power really shows you just how good this display is, just what it's capable of. That was obviously Dolby Vision and HDR. One thing to point out, I think, is that the sound from this television is absolutely crap. It is lousy as hell, but it does have one cool feature. It has a Bluetooth output feature, so I can connect an iFi audio XCAN to it, which I use all the time. I think is fantastic. I can then plug into that some very nice headphones, and you get a very high quality audio and an extremely high quality video experience, which allows me to watch, you know, movies and Netflix content late at night without worrying about upsetting, you know, the kids and the family at all. And yeah, I can still get a really involving audio and video experience. I think another thing to point out is that I am using the Panasonic GZ950 in its game mode, and that is because one of the concerns about using an OLED television as a PC monitor is that it would have a too high latency and you wouldn't be able to, you know, effectively use a mouse with it. So I have put the OLED telly into its game mode to give it the lowest latency, and I did, when I first got it, change the sensitivity settings ever so slightly on my mouse just to make it a little bit more responsive. But apart from doing that one thing, which took about 1 minute, I haven't for once thought or seen or had any issues at all with mouse latency. And I actually think the OLED telly seems faster in the latency than my old LG PC monitor. Now that's purely subjective, but it's definitely no worse. And then there's the viewing distance aspect. Now, when I installed the OLED, it did feel big for about 5 minutes, and I did find myself just moving my desk ever so slightly back from the wall, and by ever so slightly we're talking about, what's that, 3 or so inches just to push me back. But I feel like now I'm probably fighting myself back forwards again. So I mean, I sit about 3.5 feet away from the 55-inch OLED display, and for me personally it doesn't feel too big at all. But I do know that it probably wouldn't be for everybody, and some people will definitely think it's too big to use on a daily basis. Now, my missus, for example, she hates it. She thinks it's way too big, and she actually made the comment that it's about time that I had something that was way too big, and I still don't really get what she means. And there's also the fact that I actually baby this OLED display, and by baby I just mean I always put it on standby. There's a screensaver set to come on after 10 minutes, and I try and mix up the content that I'm using on there as much as possible so that the same static images are not on the screen when they don't need to be. And I do have some of the safety settings turned on, which sometimes dims the image a little bit if it's stationary and not really much is happening. All makes perfect sense, because as much as I say I wouldn't mind, it wouldn't bother me too much if there was some image retention with it, I actually still obviously don't want to cause that if I don't need to. There's so many reasons why I want to recommend you using an OLED television as a computer monitor, but there's also so many reasons why it just doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of people, and it is very much overkill. But if you do want an extremely high quality computer monitor experience that is massive for not crazy money, if you shop around and buy sensible, buy smart, then I genuinely don't think there is a better way to go. I really don't think that there's any computer monitor on the market that can get you anywhere near what an OLED television can, and certainly not at the price point. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I appreciate it's topic-wise a little bit different to the things that I normally cover, hi-fi and home cinema and some headphones. But you know, I thought it might be interesting to some people, and there's no one else really talking about this, and I think there's a lot of people out there that's missing the trick, because it can be a very, very, very cool thing. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful, interesting, hopefully some entertainment in there as well. And thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.